What's up, world? My name is Zavian Dre, and this is my podcast, Dopenly Honest, breaking the chains of addiction. Welcome to today's episode of Dopenly Honest. I'm very excited to introduce a very special guest, a fellow recovering addict by the name of Daniel Botula. Daniel is going to share some of his experience, strength, and hope in his recovery journey. Now, after meeting Daniel, I found that our story is actually very similar. I hope his experience can help someone get out of the depths of hell we know as addiction. So come on, let's not waste no time and let's get straight to it. So Daniel, thank you for being part of Dopenly Honest. Man, it's a pleasure to have you. For the people who don't know you, just tell us a little bit about yourself, where are you from and, what are some of the things that you enjoy to do?
All right, my name is Daniel Botula. I was born in 78 in Atlanta, Georgia. Lived in Pittsburgh for a short time, but pretty much lived most of my life in Kentucky. Grew up in Bowling Green. And then as an adult, when I graduated from high school, I moved to Louisville and lived there for a lot of my adult life. And no longer do because has some bad memories there. But also had a lot of good ones too, but just don't prefer city life anymore. Things I do for fun. I love music, play and sing and write songs. Really enjoy that a lot. I enjoy fishing. I enjoy being outdoors and hiking, that kind of stuff. And I work in technology. I'm a tech support manager at a CNC manufacturer here in town in Shelbyville.
That sounds cool as shit, man.
Yeah, man. It is. It is.
Yeah. So kind of like where I was wanting to go, man. So in addiction, you know what I'm saying? Like we each have our own story and our own rock bottom. So in a general way, if you don't mind, tell us about what was your bottom in life that made you want to start down the path of, whatever your poison was. I don't know whether if it was alcohol or opiates or, mine was opiates.
Mine was opiates too.
Okay, cool. So yeah. What was your bottom, man? What led you to using for the first time?
Well, what led me to using for the first time, I think at a certain point in my life, in high school, okay, I'll start there because they put me on Ritalin for ADD. Which, as you may or may not know, is a methamphetamine, pharmacy-grade methamphetamine.
Yeah,
methylphenidate is the drug name of that, so it's a methamphetamine. So I was on that, of course, over time, started abusing it here and there, taking it to parties, taking it, snorting it every once in a while, and then I started doing it more. So I was already kind of, I don't want to say, yeah, I'll say it. I was kind of strung out on that or kind of twisted up on that,
Yeah.
So then my doctor put me on, my same doctor, my psychiatrist at the time, put me on Klonopins as well. So I was an upper and a downer at the same time.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was given to me by a doctor. So I thought, this is okay, right? Well, with those two mixes in my body, I really kind of felt anxious all the time. Anxious and we get depressed and it was all twisted up, man. So the first time I tried a pain pill, it was like it took all that away. Didn't have the anxiety, gave me more confidence, didn't have the depression, picked me up, and I was like, well, this is great. This is solving my problem. And that was after college. I had good jobs and I could afford it. And I would get them here 1, 2 at a time, 5 at a time, then started buying prescriptions from people, so that I had them all the time. And I thought I could just stay on these forever. This would solve my problem instead of actually dealing with life.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think I had the mentality of, pills can solve my problems. Oh, I'm feeling a certain kind of way. I can just pop this pill. It'll be better. Right. So I got that in my head. I really got in that mode. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think over time, things really devolved. And I think that at the end of it, I was on heroin and fentanyl. I wasn't really a needle user. I was a nasal user. I never really got into that. But it's like if you stay on opiates over time, it's like you almost end up at that spot because it's cheaper, it's more readily available, and it's a better high, right? So over the years, I'd try to quit for a while. I'll just come back and I can just do one this weekend. Then I go over there. By the time I got over there, I get 2 or 3. And then, you're back on the train again.
Yeah.
Kidding yourself, right?
One of the sayings that I hear, like I go to these meetings and they say 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough.
Yes.
And once you do that 1, it's like And you always try to justify, man, I'll just do one and I'll be okay. But it never ends like that. It's the same story over and over and over again, you know.
Off to the races.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then man, you said something else, man, about trying to mask that pain and stuff. I can definitely relate to that, man. And how ironic that this is our first time meeting and automatically we're gonna have a genuine connection. It's starting to sound like we share the same story, you know, with the opiates and stuff like that. And I just feel like there's so much poison out in the community, so many people that's, you know, overdosing and dying and stuff. And I feel like it's essential for people like us to tell our stories so that you know that there's an addict right now that's about to shoot up or snort or whatever their poison is. They're about to do that right now. So I feel like it's essential for us to share our story, man, and to try to put out as much hope, not dope, into the community. You know, how is your recovery today? Like, do you go to meetings? How do you maintain your sobriety today?
Well, I think today I really stay close to family and friends and people who hold me accountable. That's first and foremost. I stay close to my family. I try to surround myself with people that give me love, that want to give back to me and not just take from me. You know, it's like I really try to look where I put my energy now and who I put my energy in because it matters. What's that saying that they say where it's like, you can tell where someone's going to be in 10 years by their friends, right? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's like, keeping good company. I did a lot of meetings when I was in rehab. I did AA, CR. CR really stuck to me, was stuck with me. So I liked that. And I ended up getting in a worship band at rehab, and we were able to go out and play for people who were, recovery rallies, that kind of stuff.
That's amazing,
I
man.
know. So my spiritual life is really important to me now. And I pray a lot during the day, off and on, even if it's just thanking God for this or that. I mean, I think it's really perception is everything, and
It
I,
is.
I have hope today because of my spirituality, because of my beliefs in God and, whatever you want to call it, right? What you can call it higher power, whatever you want to call it. But that to me is central and something that's always on my mind. You know what I mean? So I think that I really feel like once I got physically better in rehab, it was like that's really what filled that hole. Because you're trying to, I think when you're using drugs, you're trying to fill a God-sized hole with something that's not everlasting, right? And so you always have to go back for more, You asked a second ago about my rock bottom, but I think it had gotten to the point where, in my addiction, I guess I've been sober for a little over 3.5 years. And it had gotten to the point where I really didn't know what I believed spiritually. I was kind of pessimistic, and but I did remember like this is not a life, feeling like this is not a life. I had lost my job. I couldn't get a new job because I couldn't pass the drug test. So I did like DoorDash like 14 hours a day every day, which was not a life, And I remember crying out like it got to the point where I felt like, I either want to jump off a bridge or try to get better. But I had met somebody at a methadone clinic once when I was going there I heard him in line. He was saying, I tried to quit, but my body wouldn't let me. And I told myself that lie that I couldn't get sober, that wasn't going to be possible because I've been doing it for off and on for a while. And once I got physically well, I was like, I'm just so glad to be free of this, man. I'm so glad to be free of this.
Man, that's amazing. And some of the things that I find essential for me in my recovery, you know, is I have to get my meetings in. Here recently, you know, I haven't been going to as many as I did when I first got clean, and I still consider myself relatively new in recovery. I have on November the 26th, I have 2 years clean, which one day for an addict is an amazing feat. So yeah, so I have to make sure that I'm in tune spiritually, like what you was talking about. You know, when I get up, I have to thank God. I have to ask him to direct my thinking and ask for my will to be removed, you know, and for his will to take over. That's first and foremost. And you know, I found for me, like my sponsor, man, I feel like God put him in my life at the right exact moment just to talk about my rock bottom just for a second. I had gotten to a point in life, you know, in my whole 20s, you know, for most of my addiction was opiates. This last time I relapsed was on cocaine, crack cocaine. It took me to a place, man, honestly, it had me out there worse than what heroin and fentanyl did. Because with that drug, you do it and it's like you're chasing and chasing and chasing. So, you know, I got so burnt out. And my sponsor, I had knew him before from the rooms and stuff. And I seen him one Sunday in church. I had been out that night before and you know, God had just been tugging on my heart, and he's like, you need to reach out to him. So since then, man, that was 2 years ago, and well, almost 2 years ago. So yeah, just to get back onto your story, man, we talked about, some of the stuff that keeps you clean, and in a general way, what is addiction to you?
Well, I think addiction can come in many forms, man. Just because first of all, drugs are always a symptom, right? It's
Right.
never the cause. So you have to get that root cause. So I think addiction is thrill seeking, things of this earth, man, thrill seeking, whether it be gambling or porn or, whatever you're addicted to. Just because you haven't done drugs doesn't mean you're not an addict. Addiction's it's like obsession, right? It's like obsessing over something. And it's, at the end, well, really pretty much all the way through, but more so at the end, it's like that's the only thing you really think about. So you don't have a life. You're existing to buy or get in whatever way you can and consume those drugs, right? Whatever that is, it may be something else like gambling to somebody else. But yeah, becomes an obsession, right?
Absolutely. I'm not going to speak for you. But the way that my mind works is, you have people that, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about when I say this, is that you have your quote unquote normal people that can recreationally use. And I'm not one of those people. When I have one beer, or if I smoke one joint, or if I do one line or one shot or whatever the case may be, to go off of the obsession piece that you were just speaking on, my brain reacts as to where it becomes a mental obsession. From that point, it's too late and I'm off to the races. And then it becomes a physical need when you're speaking about opiates and things like that. And, today I feel like that's what everybody's doing, man. I feel like fentanyl is everywhere. It's like, it just makes me sick. And I felt like I had to do something to speak out, to get people in here to share their experience. There's more positivity that needs to be in terms of addiction and in recovery and stuff like that, man. So you said opiates was your
Opiates was mine, yeah. And that's the problem with heroin and fentanyl. When you have pills, it's one thing. I mean, even that now, really, you don't know, like, you wouldn't have done it if it wasn't fun in a certain way, right?
right,
So
right,
I
yeah.
enjoyed it, but it's like, you know, the last few years of my addiction, you just didn't know what you were getting. Like I got carfentanil a couple times, which is a mix of elephant tranquilizer and fentanyl, right?
Wow. Could
Didn't
you
know it.
repeat that, man? That's a combination of what?
Elephant tranquilizer
Yeah.
and fentanyl. I think they cut it with it, but it's,
That's crazy,
so
man.
you just don't know what you're getting. There's a guy that I went to rehab with who I didn't know super well, but he was in there and his kid was smoking weed and it was sprayed with fentanyl and it killed him while he's in rehab,
Oh
killed his
my
son.
Lord.
So it's like these drug dealers now, man, it's almost like they're purposely trying to kill people,
They don't give a fuck, bro.
They don't. They don't. And it's sick, man. It's not even fun. So I was just like, I just don't want to be any part of that life anymore. I don't want it, man. It's just such an empty life. And I've always been searching for meaning.
Yeah, for so long. And I think you hinted on this when we first started talking. And we try to fill a void, whatever that void may be. I grew up going to church and stuff like that. So I had that spiritual piece all along. But somewhere along the way, it started out for me recreationally using at first, but I had an addictive personality all along. So it only took that first time for me drinking or whatever I did recreationally, which was probably drinking and marijuana. So it only took those first times for my brain to react in a way that was going to keep me on the path of using drugs and alcohol, because I got that addictive personality. But we try to fill that void. Like you said, man, the drugs are not close enough powerful to fill that void, because that's a God-sized void. Only him or whoever you choose as your higher power can fill that void. What people are failing to realize is that it's a temporary fix. You know what I mean?
Yes, most definitely.
Most definitely, it makes you feel better right then and
In the
there.
moment.
Yeah. For me, I would use and then I would feel good. But when I woke up, or, after damn near dying from my overdose, when I woke up, the first thing that I would want is more. Like, where can I get another one at?
And that's insane thinking, isn't it?
That's insane.
On the other side of it, it is. But that's the truth.
Yeah, and then what is addiction? Like what I asked you, to me, it's insanity. Because I'm keep on doing the same thing and expecting something else to happen. And I know good and damn well what's about to happen. I'm about to get high, and then I'm not going to stop until I get locked up or have to go to rehab, or, I'm lucky if I don't overdose and die, which up until this point, I have been blessed to still have life.
Most definitely, every day. That's one thing I thank God for in the morning is the breath in my body, if that's all you got that day, But I know what you're saying. I've kind of equated to a cycle, okay? You touched on this just a second ago. It's like when you get back on that train, you literally have nowhere to go but in this circle. Like you start using drugs or dealing drugs, whatever, both, and then you end up in trouble.
Yeah.
And then you either have to go to rehab or jail. And then you get out. If you don't change your thinking and your ways, then you get right back on that train again. You can stay in that loop your whole life and never get outside that. And that's what an empty existence.
Absolutely. In the rooms, they talk about the results are always the same: jails, institutions or death.
And death.
For so long, bro, that's all I knew. All I knew was getting, do 6 months here, 8 months here in jail, 30 days here, 6 months there in rehab. And, what a miserable way to live life. And what I want people to know, no matter what type of poison is holding you back, that there is hope. I mean, look at you and your story and what you're telling me now. Like, there's just so much life to live for people. If there's somebody out here right now that's listening to our conversation, you don't have to keep using. There is another way of life. There is a higher source that you can lean on and hold on to that will relieve you from that poison that is holding you back in life, man.
It's a whole new way of thinking you can't fathom in the midst of it. You can't. I was hopeless. I'm sure you felt that same way too.
Oh man, absolutely.
It's amazing. I have hope coming out of my ears now. Like I really do, and so much joy. And I didn't think that I could ever experience that.
And once upon a time, two people like us could be in a room. We could be in here getting high, but sometimes in recovery, you get so overwhelmed, and your thoughts run together. And so I'm speaking on me. But I find that what's helpful for me sometimes is just do the next right thing, man. Even if that's just choosing to stay away from things that are going to hinder you in your sobriety. Or my sponsor always tells me, you got to be grateful for just the little things in life, and those little things add up over time.
And sometimes you got to be grateful for the bad things too, because you have to learn to deal with life on life's terms, as they say, right?
Oh man, that's a bad bitch right
it's
there.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Even on the worst day, I'm like, I'm all right. I'm breathing, and I'll get through it. It'll be all right. It's like learning to deal with life on life's terms in a mature and healthy way.
It's funny you said that. I read a meditation the other morning, and it was talking on the same thing. Even if you're in a bad situation, there's always somebody that's in a worse off situation than you are. And you still need to thank God or whoever your source is. You need to thank him. You need to thank God for those bad times, because it's in those bad times that you can learn to do something different in life.
And lean on him more.
And
which
lean
is
on
what he
him
wants you to
more.
do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, yeah, man, I am one of those that I believe addiction is a disease.
You could definitely have a predisposition for that. That runs in my family too, on my dad's side, man.
Yes, absolutely. Touch on that, man, if you don't mind too.
Okay, yeah, I had an uncle who ended up dying because he was drinking, I think, bourbon. He might have been trying to kill himself on Xanax at the same time. And I think his heart stopped. And my aunt was an alcoholic, a recovering alcoholic as well on my dad's side. So I definitely can relate to that. It's like whenever I did something, even if it was part of drinking, which I was able to put down no problem.
Yeah.
When you get a physical addiction, it's different.
Oh,
then
man,
you can't
yeah,
just
it's a
quit.
different beast.
It is. So I have that runs in my family, and whenever I do put, just like you said, have one drink, do anything just a little bit, it's like you want to do more of it immediately because it fills you up, or you feel like it fills you up when it really doesn't. I can relate to that, and whatever it was that made me feel good or better or outside my own head, which I was in my head too much a lot when I was younger too. It was like those things that helped me escape from that. I wanted to do more and more and more,
Right.
And it was never enough. Like you said earlier, it's never enough,
It never is, man. So, real quick, man, just to tell you a little bit about how I got started with opiates? Because you've told us. So I was an athlete in school, and I had big dreams and stuff. Going and playing college football and stuff like that. So my senior year, we're playing at Frankfurt High School, and I played quarterback. So on this particular play, I think it was a quarterback sneak, and I go right up the middle and I get tackled. The way I get tackled, like my foot bends in a way as to where it makes my big toe like pretty much touch the top of my foot. And I tore all those ligaments and stuff in my big toe and stuff like that. So, and I got their prescription. I think it was hydrocodone, 7.5 milligrams. I automatically loved the way they made me feel. So I had that prescription. I think it was probably like 20 or so of them, to maybe 30 pills for that prescription. And a couple months after that is when, I think I was in a situation to where somebody had them again and I took it again. And that was it, like after that. So, I ended up going to EKU where I was going to walk on to play football. But I got up there, man, and, I had already had the experience with hydrocodone. And I started experimenting with cocaine and Xanaxes, and that quickly became my focus. Again, the insanity piece as to where I'm in college, I'm supposed to be up here, being a college student, but the only thing I can seem to think about is partying. And man, just the mental state of being in active addiction is, it's wild. And, now that, we're in sobriety today, it's hard to think about being in that state of mind. You know what I mean?
Yes. Part of that's youth, I think, too. And I was wanting to have a wild time, at the time, but it's just that unfortunately stuck with me and I couldn't get that monkey off my back, That was the
Yeah.
one thing. I could put other stuff down, but some stuff when you get physically hooked on it, man, it's takes you 2 weeks or a month to start feeling normal again.
Some days for me, the thought of being in active withdrawal is enough to not make me go out. People don't realize how, like, the type of pain that you go through.
It's hell.
Oh my gosh. I've had times where I'm literally pulling my hair out. Like,
Yeah, can't sit still. Couldn't
can't sit
sleep for like a
still,
week and a half when
can't
I went into
sleep.
rehab.
And, you got your people around you just like, why can't you just stop? And you just want to like just knock them in the face. Like, I wish it was that easy. But, just like a cancer patient, they have to have medicine or treatment, whatever that treatment may be, just like an addict has to have treatment, some type of structure to treat your disease, man. And, for me, NA is my thing, but my higher power is my number one piece, and along the way, I found that Narcotics Anonymous has helped me out in tremendous ways. And it's just, for me, it's a combination of things as to what keeps me clean today. You know what I mean?
True, most definitely, being around others who can you can relate to on that level, it's huge, and that kinship you get from that.
Absolutely.
And you hear, I think when you first go to a meeting, when I first went to a meeting in rehab, it was like I was kind of closed off to it, but as I sat in those meetings, I was just listening to people and what they were saying. And part of me was apprehensive about speaking because I was like, I don't know if anybody, I'm scared to tell my story. But then when you start hearing other people's stories, you're like, wow, they've been through way worse than me. I don't feel
Yeah.
so bad about it anymore.
Right.
There's something about that, something about those meetings where, intention is very powerful and thoughts are very powerful. And I think if you take that hurt out of you and let it out into the world to somebody else, it removes that from you. And it frees you from that burden. And it's true. So I think this meeting, as time went on, I really started to enjoy meetings more. And there's times when you don't feel like going to a meeting. That's probably the time you should go to a meeting.
That's absolutely the time you need to get in there, man.
It's true. And for me, it's church. For me, it's church now. But those initial meetings when I was first in rehab really helped out a lot. But I had to have it's like I wasn't willing at first, and willingness is huge. You have to be willing. And then I was like, okay. At some point in time, it clicked in my head, and I was like, I'm going to start participating. I'm going to get something out of this. And it really did. It really filled me up in a good way. And just, when you're telling those stories and those traumas out in your life, and other people are too, it's like that really, and that honesty, that's something that's really important in sobriety is just honesty, man, and honesty with yourself and others. And it's true. And I really try to stick to that, those good godly morals. I try to live my life that way now.
Absolutely, man. What a blessing, bro. Like, what
Indeed.
a blessing that you ain't in the madness no more.
Yes. I couldn't imagine that life again.
Just one day clean is amazing, but you said you got going on 3.5 years?
3.5 years. I went in rehab early January of 22. Everything kind of crashed down. I actually, when I got carfentanil, to go back to my story earlier, when I got on carfentanil, I actually crashed a couple cars because
Oh,
I
wow.
blacked out at the wheel, didn't know I was getting carfentanil, hit a foam pole, lived through that. Luckily, next car I got, I hit 2 parked cars and ended up in jail because I blacked out at the wheel, and I was still blacked out when the cops got there, That was rough. That was my rock bottom, man. It was just like I just didn't really care about living anymore, and that's not me at all. I have a lust for life, But
Did they Narcan you?
no, they did not. I wasn't I remember being somewhat coherent when the cop got there. I think I was just laying in there kind of blacked out, but I remember him being there and me getting up and trying to walk. It didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
And I thank the Lord I didn't hit anybody, It could have been that bad.
It could have been worse,
It could have been way worse. So I'm very blessed in that regard too, and I learned my lesson.
Oh, yeah, I bet, man. Yeah, I had, and just to go off what you were talking about with your situation with the carfentanil, and I recall a certain day down on 18th and Broadway in Louisville. I had gone down. It had been one of those mornings where I was in severe withdrawal, and I just needed that one more.
I might have seen you. I was down in the West End of Louisville all the time.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Mhm.
It's a lot going on down there, to say the least. I had got down there, and my plug, as they call, he didn't answer the phone. So one thing about it being an addict, you can spot out who may or may not have something.
You're very tuned into that, aren't you? Very tuned into that.
So I go to this guy, and how desperate I was. I hand him my money. I say, man, can you go get me something? He's like, yeah, I'll be right back. So he comes right back, I do what I do, and the next thing, I wake up in the back of an ambulance, and the only thing that I can recall is the paramedic. And the paramedic, she's looking down on me. I'm looking up at her. It was like an outer body experience.
Wow.
And they said my vitals were gone when they got to the scene. And so that I remember waking up and just breathing hysterically. And that woman, I can see her clear as day. She says, son, if you don't calm down, you're going to die. And it's just stuff like that I sit back and I think about, and I'm like, it makes me just really think about how grateful I am in life today. And, I couldn't be more grateful, bro.
Gratefulness is huge. And that's the thing. You don't really think about those things. Today I'm grateful for just about everything, but I think when you're in the madness, you're not grateful for anything except for finding drugs. I'm grateful for so much. And just like I said earlier, just the breath in your body, if that's all you got that day, then be grateful for being alive.
So, man, if you don't mind, we're not the only one that struggles. Like we put ourselves through hell, but we put our family members through hell as well. You being in your madness, how did it affect your family and stuff like that?
Well, honestly, they didn't really know. I think my parents had no idea about that kind of life, So they knew something wasn't right, but they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So the last part of my story before I went into rehab was, I crashed that car, ended up in jail, didn't have a car. So I had to move back in with my parents, and my wife at the time had to move back with hers. And I had some money saved up a little bit from doing DoorDash and all that, but, that ran out,
Right.
I was living with my parents and I had nothing. And my ex-wife started going through withdrawals before me because she ran out of money first. And so she had to tell her family, which I didn't want to tell them family at all. I was so ashamed. And I think 2 weeks prior to that, I had prayed to God, like, either help me get better, because I had sustained this for over 20 years, off and on, a long time. I was like, either help me get better or let me go, let me die. I was at that point. And within 2 weeks, my life had crashed for the first time, where I couldn't do anything. I was helpless, to get more drugs or to get myself whatever. So basically, she went into the healing place, women's healing place here, or I shouldn't say here, but in Louisville. So her family found out because she finally told them what was going on. And her sister and brother-in-law called my parents while I was living there and told them what was going on, which I didn't want.
Wow.
I knew it was coming to an end because I knew things were starting to happen. She was detoxing and she was calling me, and I was trying to keep it under wraps still, and I couldn't. And they told them, and I never forget the look on my mom's face after she got off the phone with them. She was like, "What are you doing? Like, what is going on?" She was just shocked. And telling my mom for the first time, like, why are you doing that? I'm like, I'm hooked. I'm addicted. That was so surreal to me, you know?
Wow.
My parents were wonderful. They supported me all the way through rehab, even though I lied to them and everybody around me for a long time. You know, I was a really despicable person.
Man. Yeah, I get emotional talking about that and how we affect our family members and
Don't even realize that we're in the midst of it. Don't even realize it,
yeah,
you know?
you know, and it's just like you are so left field and you are so in the grips of addiction that you don't not only do you not realize but you don't care, you know, and you get I know I speaking on me, I got real selfish in my addiction and
Everybody who's an addict is selfish,
yes, yes,
whether they
and
realize it or not.
there were so many nights that my mom couldn't sleep. So I thank God for that, you know, that my mom and my family, my wife, my kids, you know, that I can be the family man that I am today.
Amen.
You know, speaking on getting clean, you want to get clean for yourself first and foremost, but you want to get clean for your family as well. You number one, but you also like me, I got kids that's relying on me. You know, I have a wife that she's not in recovery, but she loves me. She's never judged me from day one. I think that, you know, people don't realize really how much that you are hurting other people when you're out there and you're chasing that one more. You know, it's always one more.
It never ends. You can
Yeah.
do it till you die. You can, you know?
Yeah. So thank you for coming and sharing your story, man. And I wish you nothing but the best in your journey. Not only in recovery, but in life in general. I wish you nothing but the best in your spiritual journey. And like I said, when one or more addicts meet up, that's always a powerful thing, man, because like I stated before, we have a story to tell. And there's so many people out here that are lost and they don't know which way to go, man. But hearing somebody like you have inspired me in a major way, just hearing your story, man. And like I said, man, thank you for coming on our platform, Dopenly Honest.
Pleasure's been
Appreciate you,
mine.
man.
And I got to say, man, you know, for all those out there who are still using, there is hope, man. Life is so rich on this side of things, you know, you just got to get through that initial part, but there is hope. There is hope, folks. If you're out there using right now, call someone, get into rehab, get off that train.
To add on to that real quick, there's plenty of programs of recovery. There's plenty of contacts. Literally, all you have to do, get on Google, type in meetings in my area, and there will be numerous things that will pop up that you can go. There's numerous outlets that you can use, man, and if you're really trying to get clean. So it's my prayer that, you know, somebody out there, if you could hear Daniel's story, that you heard something that changed you, that you got inspired from his message. Hey, man, so it's been brought to my attention that you're somewhat of a musician. You want to share a song with us, man?
I sure will. This one's called You Ain't Gotta Live Like That No More, and I wrote that in rehab when I was there. Here goes. Living up in a trailer with no TV. Slept past noon cause I got no place to be. Peeking through the shade so I can see when the mailman comes. Gotta cash my check so I can go get me some. Not much here but a sofa and a chicken bone. Got halfway done and I feel like getting stoned. Got a little bit of money, gonna save it so it don't run out. Is this the life that Ma was always talking about? You ain't gotta live like that no more. Getting high seemed a mighty fine thing for sure. But living low will surely leave you tired, sick and poor. You know you ain't gotta live like that no more.
So yeah, man, thank you, man. It's been a pleasure.
Amen, Dre. Thank you too, brother. Praise God.
Yes, sir. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dopenly Honest. I know all too well that recovery is an uphill battle, but there is hope. For resources, find your local NA, AA, or CR meeting. I can't stress enough how crucial meetings are to my personal recovery. If you enjoyed this content, please like, share, and meet us back right here for more episodes of Dopenly Honest. And remember, you are not alone. One day at a time, we do recover.